Her 15-year-old son was failing school, using drugs, and had completely shut her out. He used to talk to her, and now he barely looked at her. And the friends he was hanging out with, they terrified her. Rachel was scared, really scared, that she was losing her son, and she had no idea how to get him back. If you've got a teenager who you used to be close with, but now you're feeling like a stranger in their life, this video is for you. But we're not going to talk about how to control them or fix their behavior. We're going to talk about something harder. Why this disconnection happened in the first place, and how to start rebuilding the relationship, even if it feels hopeless right now. I'm going to show you what worked for Rachel and what will work for you too. Rachel is a single mom raising her 15-year-old son, Kai, and she's doing it all by herself. Her ex-husband was awful. He was abusive to her and he was abusive to Kai, and he had been in and out of their lives for years. Now she's contacting me because her son Kai is getting into trouble. Again, he's failing school, he's switched friend groups, he's just doing poorly on everything. And she is freaking out. She doesn't like his friends. She hates that he's using drugs. And this feels like a runaway train that's going nowhere. She had always been close to Kai, and now it was obvious that he cared far more about his friends than he did about her. And the close talks that they used to have were now limited to him grunting or just telling her what he wanted. But he was never opening up anymore, and he was becoming more and more distant. This is actually a pretty common scenario. Many of you are in situations with teenagers that you used to be close with, and now you feel a distance. Their friends are more important than you are. You've lost your influence, and it might scare you. So what can we do about this? This, to me, is one of our great dilemmas today because I see this so often. I go into a lot of detail in my online parenting course about how to fix this and how to do this. So if you want a deeper dive, go to my website and find my course. In my last two videos on attachment, we talked about attachment needs from 0 to 5 and then from 6 to 12. Now we're going to talk about attachment in teenagers and what you can do when you find your attachment or your emotional connection disappearing, or maybe it's disappeared from your teenage child. Let me review a couple quick key points. Every child has attachment hunger. Their brains are hardwired for this. So your child is biologically designed to attach deeply to you. And if you lost this somewhere along the way, they will attach to someone else, and that will be their peers. Peer orientation is the idea that instead of staying connected to parents, kids form their primary attachments with other kids. It means caring more about a friend's opinion than yours, or being more emotionally open with peers, but being guarded with family, or showing indifference toward home life. Remember, peer interaction is normal. That's developmentally necessary. We want that. But peer orientation is a problem because this is when kids really begin to rely more on their peers than parents for emotional support and guidance, and it can lead to all sorts of behavioral and emotional challenges. This is exactly what was happening with Kai. Now, before we talk about what to do, let me briefly talk about how this happens. It's usually because parents at some point become emotionally or physically unavailable. It's also compounded by the cultural messages that we have nowadays that push independence at the expense of attachment and connection between parent and child. Remember, true independence grows out of secure attachment, not in the absence of it. So in Kai's case, there were all kinds of external circumstances that made it difficult for Rachel. As I said, her ex-partner was awful. He abused them, and she was left to raise this difficult child by herself. And at the same time, she had to work a full-time job just to pay the bills. She had a lot on her plate, and nobody should be anything but compassionate towards her situation. I know I was and am. But that does not take away the fact that Rachel herself had become, at times, emotionally checked out. She did miss making and maintaining crucial connections with Kai. She had become emotionally unavailable at times. And when he started acting out in her exhaustion and frustration, she would yell at him, she would criticize, she would try to punish him, she tried to control his behaviors. And it's true, she was tired and she was traumatized herself. But over time, all of this led to his moving away from her emotionally and moving towards his peers. These are the facts. I don't say this to criticize Rachel. This is not about blame. It is about recognizing clearly how disconnection occurs so we can repair it. If we don't understand why it happened, we can't do anything about it. So with Rachel, the first step was to help her understand why the disconnection with Kai happened in the first place. And I had to be gentle with her because she was full of guilt and shame. And I'm asking you to be gentle with yourself too, because anytime we look deeply at ourselves and take responsibility for mistakes we've made, that's tough. And it puts us in a very vulnerable position. But it is the only position that will work because we cannot change what we don't own. We can't repair mistakes that we don't believe that we've made. So now let's talk about 5 steps that you can take to draw your disconnected teenage child back to you. Step number one, remember, this is a long game. This is not a quick fix. Connection can be rebuilt, but you have to have the long game in mind. You have to hang in there. You have to be patient, and you have to be consistent. Step number two, I want you to believe in yourself, and I want you to believe in your child. Believe in yourself, meaning that you can do this, and believe in your child that he or she actually does want to be close to you, regardless of what they say, even if they act indifferent. Now, back to Rachel. No matter how much I empathize with her circumstances, and I do, the next part in repairing her disconnection with Kai was to take accountability or ownership of her role in that disconnection. So step number three is to own your role. Again, this is not to blame, but we got to be grown-ups. You can't fix what you don't own. You may think that your deteriorating relationship with your child is totally because of them. They're the ones that distance themselves from you, but I'm asking you to really think about what your role in the disconnection is. You might have minimal role. You might have maximum role. I don't even care. Even if your role is 1%, that's the part that you focus on because that's the part you can control. In Rachel's case, she had to own the fact that at various times she had gotten checked out. This is not about what her ex-husband did. This is not about how awful he was. That doesn't really matter because she can't control any of that. If Rachel could own her stuff, then she can change her stuff. Let me illustrate this by telling you a true story about a father and daughter, and we're going to call them John and Emily. Emily was in a short-term treatment program for depression and anxiety, which was actually following a really serious suicide attempt. The suicide attempt scared the death out of John. While Emily was getting help, he actually came face to face with a lot of his own issues. He had been physically and emotionally absent through most of her life. He worked long hours, he traveled extensively, he owned his own company, and most of the parenting was left up to Emily's mom. Problem is that 4 years earlier, Emily's mom died from a really aggressive form of cancer. Her illness and her death was swift and so fast that it just left them in shock. Well, Emily was really close to her mom. She always went to her mom for emotional support. And John, on the other hand, honestly appeared incapable of giving emotional support. So when she died, he ignored it. They didn't talk about it. The unspoken family rule was keep your feelings to yourself. Well, Emily was devastated, and now she had nowhere to go. She had nobody to talk to. She slowly withdrew from her world, and she developed a lot of emotional struggles. She developed an eating disorder. She started self-harming. As she got older, she started isolating herself in her room all day long for days at a time. And then eventually she made this suicide attempt that I'm talking about. And this is the thing. The suicide attempt literally woke John up, but he didn't know what to do with this. He was now freaking out that he was going to lose Emily as well. So after this happened, they both decided that she was going to go to a short-term treatment program and get help. And the program was going to hopefully address her trauma and grief from losing her mom, but also the longstanding abandonment that she felt from her dad. And during this time, John asked to visit with me personally. And while we were visiting, we talked about his identity as a husband and as a father. He was very humble. He acknowledged to me that he had no idea how to deal with grief or how to talk with kids about their feelings. He had grown up in a home himself where feelings were never acknowledged, let alone talked about. And now, because of what was happening with his daughter, he was desperate to change, but he didn't know where to start. He was desperate to save his daughter. So I did with John what I'm asking you to do right now. I asked John to identify his role in their disconnected relationship. We weren't going to blame this on mom's death or anything else. I wanted to know what John's role in their relationship was. And this was painful for him, as it is for all of us when we do this. But he acknowledged that his role was the physical and emotional absence, his lack of emotional nurturing, his lack of emotional language or emotional connection. And then we talked about him really owning this and being fully accountable so that he could change. Part of this accountability was what he needed to say to Emily about it. I helped coach him with this, and it was very sweet. And here I'm going to share with you the words that we came up with that he eventually said to his daughter. He said, "I've been gone from you since the day you were born. I've been gone physically. I've been gone emotionally. I let your mom raise you. And then when she died, I had no idea what to do. And I am so sorry for what you've been through and what I've put you through. I want to be close to you. I want to be there for you. I just don't know how to do it. And now I'm doing my own work and I'm willing to learn. And I just hope that you'll let me." This is what John did. He owned his mistakes. Step number 4 is part of what John did by saying those things and what he continued to do after that. Step number 4 is verbalizing your intentions. John literally verbalized his intentions to Emily. He told her what he was trying to do, what he was trying to change, and that he wanted to be close to her. Again, he said, I've been gone from you since the day you were born. I let your mom raise you. I'm so sorry. I want to learn. I want to get better. I want us to be closer. This was verbalizing his intentions, and you need to do something like this too. Anybody who's listening to this who wants to draw closer to their kids again, you need to own it and then verbalize what you're going to do. Here is why that is actually so important. When we are transparent, when we're vulnerable, that's the key that unlocks the door of intimacy or connection. There is also a power that comes from speaking our intentions because it makes them a reality. So many books have been written on this. When we say something out loud, what you're going to do, it will give you added power to follow through and do it. Also, transparency and saying it out loud tells your child that this is important to you. You are letting them know they matter so much to you that you are willing to change, that you are willing to be vulnerable, that you're willing to speak in this way that you've never spoken before. And this alone will blow some of their minds. I'm telling you, this alone will start drawing them to you. Now, we've been talking about why verbalizing your intentions is so important. Now, I want to talk about how to do this. This is going to be uncomfortable for some of you because it requires openness. It requires you to be vulnerable. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. There are guidelines for this. Here they are. When we verbalize our intentions, like John did with Emily, we say it with warmth, but we also say it in a matter-of-fact tone. Again, we are here to be consistent, present, and this is a long game. So we are even-keeled. So let's just say your role in your disconnected relationship with your child was anger, for example. We'll just use that example. You might say something like this: I want to be closer to you. The reason we aren't close has everything to do with me, and I'm willing to change. My problem is that I've been angry and I took it out on you and everybody else. And I'm going to do everything I can to change this about myself. I'll even go to my own personal therapy. And I hope this brings us together. Now, that would be amazing to say to a child, and your child would be amazed by that. Let's say your problem is that you lecture or that you don't listen well. So you could say, I want to be close to you. The reason we aren't close is because I'm an awful listener. All I do is give you advice on the lecture the living daylights out of you, and I'm going to stop doing that. I'm going to do everything I can to change this about myself, and I hope we can have a closer relationship because of this. Now, I want you to notice the way I said these things in these examples. I was warm, but I was very even-keeled, right? Mostly I was sincere, and I was matter-of-fact. So when you say it sincerely and matter-of-factly and with warmth, that gives you credibility and it makes it believable. Now, how are your children going to respond when you verbalize your intentions? They might blow you off. I've seen the whole spectrum. They may act indifferent. That's probably how they'll act. They may be happily shocked. I've seen that. Who knows? Let's just say they don't believe you. It doesn't matter how they respond because this is about you doing your part. I don't want you to worry about them. I don't want you to care about how they respond. You are taking care of what you can control, and you're trusting that the rest is going to take care of itself. Now that you've owned it and verbalized what you want to change, the next step, number 5, is just to show up. This is the easiest but most powerful step. The number one most important thing you can do to improve your connection with your child is just to show up. Showing up is presence. It's consistent presence. It's usually quiet, though. It involves a lot of listening and no lecturing. It is not loud. It's not demanding. It's not controlling. And it results in them feeling seen by you. So it requires your attention. I've told this story about Jackson before. Jackson's dad was largely absent through most of his life, and that's because he was an alcoholic. And because of his drinking and many other issues, his mother, Jackson's mother, divorced his dad years ago. Now, his dad rarely kept visitation appointments with the kids. He was the biggest flake in the world and just disappointed them over and over and over. And by the time I was in the picture, Jackson was in therapy also for a suicide attempt. And things had become pretty serious for Jackson. And this scared dad to death. It was a wake-up call for him. And so he asks me, what can I do? So I told him a couple things. Number 1, you got to stop drinking. You need to get your addiction under control. We talked about how he could get help for his alcoholism. Number 2, I just said, all you have to do is very simple. You just have to be present. You just have to show up. And so he's tried to start showing up. Number 1, he started a recovery program to get help for his drinking. And then he's just tried to show up for Jackson. At first, Jackson did not want it. He was bitter at his dad and he was rejecting dad's attempts. So I told him to send him a text message. Let him know you love him. Invite him to dinner. Even if he rejects you, that is okay. Just be consistent and show up in little ways, in little things that you can do. And what's really cool about this story, it was not very long before their relationship had really become quite close. I think it was maybe 3 to 6 months, maybe even closer to 3. So just show up to be present in their lives. You don't have to show up with a lecture. You don't have to show up to try to influence them. That's going to backfire. You just show up to be present. And it's really that simple. Showing up means meeting them where they are with the singular goal of trying to connect with them. No lecturing, no teaching, no nagging. Okay. It means being physically present. You can sit nearby, but you don't push the conversation. Just be there. It means being emotionally available. Notice what lights them up. Notice what shuts them down. It means joining their world, ask about their interests, play their games. It means giving them space when they need it, but you don't disappear when they need space. It means avoiding hidden agendas. You don't use closeness to get them to talk to you or to behave. You just connect. And also, critical skill, become a great listener. Finally, a few reminders. You are not trying to be their friend, and you don't stop having boundaries with them. You are also not forcing reconnection. You are inviting connection. And when you mess up, you just repair it. You own it and you repair it. This can be hard, and this is a slow process, but it is not hopeless. Be kind to yourself. You may have made mistakes. We have all made mistakes. You may have had really tough circumstances like Rachel's, but moving forward is all that matters. Your teen might push back really hard at first, but here's what I know after years of helping families with this. Connection is always possible, even when it feels hopeless, even when they act like they don't care. They do care. And deep down, they want you back too. All right, I'll see you next time.